The Waltons, Ron DeSantis, and a presidential assassination are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is September 14th, 2022. It is the 257th day of the year. There are 108 days left in 2022. It is the 37th Wednesday in the 37th week and the 86th day of summer. Just a little over a week left, 8 days until fall. If today's your birthday, you're still a Virgo. Today is National Virginia Day. On September 14th, National Virginia Day recognizes one of the original 13 colonies and the 10th state to ratify the Constitution. Virginia was one of the main players for the South in the Civil War. I don't think a lot of people know how far north the southern states were as far as the war goes. Most people think it's like, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Florida. But no, Virginia was actually part of it, and so was Texas. They were part of the South. In some respects, they were the main Confederate state. But if you watch my other channel, we talk about this all the time. Virginia's proximity to Washington, D.C. makes it ideal for government commuters and tourism to the U.S. Capitol. Many of our nation's headquarters that aren't in Washington, D.C. will be found in Virginia. The CIA, National Fish and Wildlife Service, the Department of Defense, Arlington National Cemetery, which isn't an office or anything like that, it's obviously a cemetery, and the world's largest office building, the Pentagon. All right, let's see what else September 14th has given us. 1782, the American Revolutionary War. George Washington reviews French troops in New York. Yes, the French partnered with us during the Revolutionary War, sent us troops, helped us with naval problems, things like that. 1862, the American Civil War. The Battle of South Mountain, part of the Maryland campaign, is fought. 1901, U.S. President William McKinley dies after being mortally wounded on September 6th by an anarchist and is succeeded by President Theodore Roosevelt. Now, this could probably be our deep dive and all that, but it was 2 years ago. So we're picking something else. 1954, in a top secret nuclear test, a Soviet Tu-4 bomber drops a 4-kiloton atomic weapon just north of a village called Toitskoy, north of the Kazakhstan border. 1994, the Major League Baseball season is canceled because of a strike. This was a big deal. They always seem to work these things out. I mean, all the major sports and just about any business normally has some kind of labor dispute where they threaten to walk out, and in sports, they always threaten the season. The season's not going to happen, all this. This is one of the first times I remember it actually happening, at least for Major League Baseball. I know the NFL had a time when they did it, and now, since then, the NBA has done it. There's a lot that goes into it, but from an outsider point of view, I'm thinking when most of you are making a league minimum, and that is like $250,000 a year, you don't have much to complain about. With some of the stars making tens and 20 millions of dollars, I don't know. 1998, telecommunications companies MCI Communication and WorldCom complete their $37 billion merger to form MCI WorldCom. Yeah, this merger didn't last long. In July 2002, WorldCom filed for bankruptcy in the largest such filing in the United States history at the time. That record was overtaken by Lehman Brothers and Washington Mutual, which we're going to talk about in a minute, during the September 2008 financial crash. This was going on while all the cell phones and internet companies were starting to do their thing and basically put the old school phone service that was attached to your wall out of business. Those were some horrible days. I remember getting the calls all the time, trying to get your long distance service. I mean, that was every day, 4 or 5 times a day. They would call and try and get you to switch your long distance service. It's like, I don't know anyone that I'm calling long distance. Why do I need a service for it? One time I told a guy, I got a cell phone for that and I don't need a long distance thing. And the guy goes, what if your power goes out? Then I won't call anyone long distance till the service comes back on, I guess. The guy followed up with, what if it's an emergency? If someone's so far away they can't be there in like 2 minutes, it's not an emergency for them. I mean, what's the point? I'm going to call my uncle in New York, tell him I need him to get here and help me lift something off my chest because it fell on me in the garage? Makes no sense. That whole industry in the early 2000s was getting desperate, though. It's like the people running the company didn't see the writing on the wall and didn't switch their service. They tried to push this long-distance home phone thing for as long as they could. The whole long-distance industry back in the day is a perfect example of bad business or abusive business practices creates alternatives or competition. When the cell phone companies came out, they were trying to get them in as many people's hands as they can, so they just said, you know what? Long distance is free. free. And when that became the norm, and it just killed this long distance industry. More recently, the cable industry is dying because it had price gouged people for so many years, and they were so difficult to deal with, and they just had abusive business practices that Netflix comes along. Amazon Prime, Hulu, Disney Plus, they've just killed cable television. I worked for both Netflix and Comcast Cable. When I was at Netflix, we were just gaining customers. Millions every single month. Millions and millions. When I moved over to Comcast, it was like every single one of the calls one of the reps had taken was someone trying to cancel their cable subscription. 2000, Microsoft releases Windows ME, possibly the worst Microsoft product ever. 2007, the financial crisis of 2007 and 8. The North Rock Bank experiences the first bank run in the United Kingdom in 150 years. This is what happens when the financial crisis becomes imminent, and it happened during the Great Depression and all that, and everyone sees the writing on the wall, and they go down to the bank and they want to collect their money. Well, the bank doesn't have that money on hand, and in some cases, it's created riots. Premiered on September 14th, 1971, The Waltons. If you're old enough, you remember The Waltons. Every single episode ended with "Goodnight, John Boy, goodnight, Mary Ellen, goodnight," and they'd say goodnight to everyone as the end credits ran. I remember that more than anything else that went on in that show. But the show chronicles the hardships of a Virginia mountain family during the Great Depression through World War II. The show is based on the book Spencer Mountain by Earl Hamner Jr. The show ran for 9 seasons and aired a total of 221 episodes. The show won 14 Emmy Awards during its run. Born on September 14th, 1978, Ron DeSantis, Republican politician who became the United States Representative for Florida's 6th Congressional District in 2013. In 2019, he became Florida's 46th governor. Before his political career, he was the captain of a varsity baseball team in his senior year at Yale University, and he graduated magna cum laude with a BA in history in 2001. In 2004, during his second year at Harvard Law, DeSantis was commissioned as an officer in the U.S. Navy and assigned to the Navy Judge Advocate General Corps, or JAG. He completed Naval Justice School in 2005. Now, a lot of people claim that he was a Navy SEAL. He was not a Navy SEAL. He was assigned to SEAL Team 1, which he served as a legal advisor to the commander. He wasn't an actual Navy SEAL. He is a very interesting figure, and he's probably going to run for president in 2024. He's one of those guys that's half the country likes him, half the country hates him. There's almost like no in between with this guy, which is fine. Everyone has their point of view, right? Died on September 14th, 2021, Norm Macdonald, stand-up comedian and Saturday Night Live cast member from 1993 to 1998, who anchored The Weekend Update. He appeared in numerous Adam Sandler movies, including Billy Madison, The Grown-Ups, and hosted The Sports Show with Norm Macdonald on Comedy Central in 2011. He began his career by performing in local comedy clubs in Ottawa. He later started his career in entertainment by writing for the hit show Roseanne. He was famously fired from Saturday Night Live because NBC West Coast executive Don Ohlmeyer didn't think he was funny, but many believe it was Ohlmeyer's friendship with O.J. Simpson, who was often mocked by Norm Macdonald on The Weekend Update. So I've always been a fan of comedy. I was a stand-up comedian for a while. I've written jokes for other people, things like that. And I honestly think you need to be a comedian to realize the genius of Norm Macdonald. I would have told you this long before he died. Norm Macdonald was a comedy genius, and I really don't think the average Joe understands that. If you want to see some really good stuff, just type Norm Macdonald, Conan O'Brien. Whenever he was on that show, it was perfect. In 2013, Norm Macdonald was diagnosed with multiple melanoma. He kept his diagnosis a secret. Only his family, agent, and producing partner knew about it. He feared his condition, if it got out to the public, would affect the way he was perceived. The cancer went into remission in 2020. It metastasized, and it developed into acute leukemia. He went into the hospital in July of 2021, where he remained hospitalized until his death from acute leukemia on September 14th, 2021. He will be missed. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a productive day, and be nice to each other.